Shalom lekulam. Today on Hebrew Book Review, I am reviewing the Modern Hebrew books by Rosen School of Hebrew. Welcome back to Hebrew Book Review. Today I am reviewing Modern Hebrew by Rosen School of Hebrew. It's a series of 7 books, all dedicated to modern Hebrew. I want to make it clear that I am reviewing the books only and not the classes. I'm not sure you can actually buy the books new unless you are enrolled in the classes, but you might be able to find them used somewhere. So I wanted to do this review. I purchased the books at Rosen School because I am a student there. And even though I wasn't enrolled in all of the classes, I was able to purchase all of the books. This series is intended for adult learners and covers from 0 to a very, very high level of proficiency if you get all the way from book 1 to book 7. But each book is a textbook that is specifically meant to go with one of Rosen's classes. And so they assume that you have all of that extra guidance from one of their teachers. The books go from 0 to 25% religious. I'd say the first 6 books are mostly 0%. I can't remember a single religious story in there. They all, when they talk about Israeli culture, they usually have to do with something that does not have anything to do with Jewish religion. But the 7th book does have a lot of Jewish religion in it. It talks a lot about the holidays and specific ways that Israelis celebrate them. The font is mostly a modern font. It's very typical and it's a 12 point. So very typical of what an adult would see when they were reading. Most of the writing uses the modern spelling without nikud. They introduce each word with the nikud, and they also usually give a pronunciation guide, at least in the lower levels. But then once you've seen that word once, they assume you know it, and they write it all without nikud. And they also introduce cursive very early on, and they use it throughout the books. So, for example, when they are giving an example of what the student is supposed to do for a homework assignment, they model the student's writing with cursive. And so they pretty much start teaching from the very beginning of the very first book. They start using cursive. So if a student starts at level 1, they technically do not need to know anything before starting. The series takes the student from 0 to very fluent in all of the 7 levels, and it covers every grammar point you could possibly imagine needing to know, and all of the basic and intermediate vocabulary. So, for example, when I was in level 6, now I was in the middle of level 6, I took a 5-week vacation in Israel, and it was just me and my family. We weren't on any tours or anything like that. And we were in an area where there actually weren't a lot of English speakers, and I got along just fine. People gave me directions. I had to go to the pharmacy and get some medication for my son. We had to go to the bank. We did. It was almost everything you typically learn how to do in a textbook series. I had to do it, and I did it just fine, all in Hebrew. Yeah, people always say that all Israelis speak English, and I think that is probably they do all learn English in school. I think it's probably true that in the touristy areas or in hotels where everybody is used to foreigners coming in, they do speak a lot of English, but not everywhere. There were a lot of places that I went that I needed my Hebrew. And with my level 6 knowledge, I was able to do everything that I needed to do all in Hebrew. So, book 1 covers the alphabet, the pronouns, the verb system, present tense of pa'al verbs, which is the most common binyan or verb category, and the daily basics. Level 2 covers masculine and feminine, numbers, compound words, prepositions with their personal endings, so like to him, with us, those kinds of constructions. Present tense of the ayin vav gizra of pa'al, which is verbs like ba, ba'a, ba'im, ba'ot, as well as 3 other binyanim, which are pl, hif'il, and hitpa'el. Level 3 covers dual nouns, the past tense of those 4 binyanim, pa'al, pl, hif'il, and hitpa'el. Yesh and ein, which means there is and there isn't, and bigger numbers like hundreds and thousands. And in this level, they also explain the whole verbal system with the binyanim and the gizrot. Before this, they just kind of show these verbs and kind of try to get you to recognize that certain verbs are like other verbs. But here they finally explain the whole system. Level 4 covers the future tense and the gerund of the 4 main binyanim, commands, the verb to be, and the ordinal numbers. Level 5 covers numbers plus a pronoun, as in the 4 of us or the 2 of them, as well as impersonal sentences, comparatives, and the past participle. And it also introduces the binyan nif'al. Level 6 reviews all that the students have learned about these 5 main binyanim in all 3 tenses, and it gets into the nitty-gritty of grammar points that are very specific to Hebrew. And finally, level 7 covers the 2 passive binyanim and then focuses a lot on reading a lot about Jewish and Israeli culture. So holidays, Israeli artists, important people, etc. So the school does have a level 8, but there's no book for it. Basically, what they do is they put out articles, and we have access to them because we're in the class, and we read the articles. There's a new set every month, and we choose in our class what to read and what not to read. But because there's new ones every month, they haven't published any of them in a book. Each chapter of each book starts with a list of new vocabulary words and an exercise to help us use and remember them. Then they offer a short, to the point explanation of the grammar points for the chapter, and then they give some exercises to practice and answers on a separate page. So that's how each book is structured. And of course, I use these books in conjunction with the classes, so I got the benefit of all of the extra exercises and explanations by the teacher. When I tried to use just the book with my son, he was pretty unimpressed. Now, part of this was that he was a kid, and these books are intended for adults. So they're not keyed into all of the stuff that kids need or like, such as colorful illustrations and really, really slow explanations of the grammar. But this is also when I noticed that the vast majority of the learning is done in class, and the books are really just a supplement. I really love the Israeli cultural information. There are so many aspects to the Israeli culture that are taught through their short texts that you really don't find elsewhere. And another great thing is that the books are available in multiple languages. It's not just in English. So if you speak another language like Spanish, German, French, or Russian, you can probably find these books in those languages as well. As of 2024, they say that Arabic is coming soon. I'm not sure if it has come out yet. Earlier this year, that one of my teachers said that an Arabic book was coming soon. Another thing I love is how it focuses on reading without nikud from the very beginning. This is how my college classes were, and it really pushes the students to get out of our comfort zone and read the way Israelis read. We hear that there's no vowels in typical writing, and we really get scared. It's really easy to get so scared and think, oh, I'll never be able to do it. But when they kind of force you to do it and recognize all of the words that you know without the nikud from the beginning, then it's not so scary as you just add a few words here and there at a time. The biggest problem is that these books are not meant to be for solo learners. And this will be especially difficult for students who are new to learning a foreign language. If this is the first foreign language that you're learning, you might not actually know all of the lingo of language learning, like what is a conjugation and what are the tenses anyway, and what does imperative mean. All of these things might make it really difficult since you don't have all of that extra teacher help. The very beginning units of level 1 are especially confusing without a teacher. For example, Unit 1 covers the first 6 letters, but it shows a table of all of the letters with a Hebrew word that features the letter and an English translation of the word. The student is left wondering if they should be trying to learn all of these words. And then chapter 2 covers the next 6 letters and so on. And the exercises for these chapters consist mostly of writing the letters. And the table that shows how to write the letters is between the table of contents and chapter 1. So it's not exactly easy to follow. They do provide arrows to let the students what direction to write the letters, so that's good. But they don't provide any context for the size or the position for the letters with respect to the other letters. So if we look here at Yod, for example, it looks like it's at the bottom half of the writing space. And there's no explanation of the letters that extend above or below the writing space. So this can get the students writing with some really bad habits that will be hard to break later on. All in all, I don't recommend these books for a solo learner. The grammar explanations are just too concise, and they are not enough for somebody learning on their own. Of course, they're not intended for someone learning on their own. They're intended to go with Rosen's classes. And so it makes sense that they don't really contain enough information for a solo learner. So that's it for today. If you're looking for a series to learn Hebrew on your own, Modern Hebrew by Rosen School is probably not for you. There are a lot of other good books and series specifically intended for students who don't have a teacher, and I will get to reviewing some of them soon. If you have any questions or feedback, leave it in the comments and I will do my best to respond. And also, if you have a book that you'd like me to review, let me know and I will put it on the list. Hit like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe and hit the notification bell if you want to see more. Also, don't forget to check out the Sunday video, which is Hebrew Vocab Boost, and the Tuesday video, which is Hebrew Grammar Help. Or just wait for next week's video, which will be on Shalom Ivrit, a 3-level set for kids. Lehitraot papa'am hapa'a. See you next time.